Start video. Share screen. Can you see my screen?
No, sir.
No. Just a minute. You still cannot see the screen?
Not yet. So,
Not yet.
no, sir.
Okay, let's see.
So now it is showing.
Now it's showing.
Yeah.
Oh. Just a second. Can you see the screen now? Are you able to see the screen?
No, sir.
No? Oh, what the hell is that? Just one second. I'm in two WebEx meetings. That's my problem. I'll get rid of one. Leave meeting. Okay. I'm in the other WebEx meeting. Now I'll share the screen. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I can start.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any questions from the previous class?
So what will be the unit vector of a null vector?
There is nothing like null vector is null vector. There is nothing like a unit vector. Okay. Null vector is by definition all components are zero. There is nothing like the norm is zero, everything is zero. It's like the number zero. If you ask me what is the value of the number zero, it is zero. Okay.
And its direction, sir?
There is no direction. All components are zero. It is just origin.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so a null vector means just, if you add zero to a number, does it change? Similarly, if you add zero vector to a vector, the vector doesn't change. So which means it has no magnitude, no direction. Zero magnitude and no direction. That's what I mean. Okay, now let me start by introducing other operators. So last time I introduced Hermitian operators and I also introduced unitary operators, I think. I don't know whether I introduced the unitary operators.
Yes.
Yeah, I introduced the unitary operators and I also introduced the Hermitian operator. Now I will introduce what's called a projection operator. A projection operator, this projects a vector onto a given subspace. Okay, for example, if you have a vector in a n-dimensional space, let us say x in a n-dimensional space, okay, then if you operate by the projection operator, which takes you from n to m dimension, this will give me a vector y, which is in the m-dimensional space. Okay, so it's like, for example, you can project a vector from 3 dimensions to 2 dimensions by just removing the z component, right? Then the vector will become something in the xy plane. So similarly, I can convert a vector in n dimensions to m dimensions by using what's called the projection operator PNM. And what are the properties of the projection operators? So the projection operators are defined as operators which are Hermitian. So they have to be firstly Hermitian operators. And also what is called idempotent, which means that if for an idempotent operator P squared is equal to P. Okay, so I am using the vector notations on that, so I should not use it. So, okay, P squared is equal to P. That means if you project once, okay, for example, if Px gives me y, okay, then what happens is that p squared x is equal to p of y is equal to y. Okay, this you understand, right? So supposing I take a vector in three-dimensional space x, y, z, okay, and I project into a two-dimensional space which is the xy plane. Okay, if I use the projection operator again on this resultant vector, which is the two-dimensional plane, it must not give you anything different. It will be just the same. Okay, it is like, you know, a projection operator is like a killer. Okay, you can kill a person only once. You can't kill him again and again, right? So similarly, a projection operator kills the other dimensions, and it cannot kill it again, because once you have killed the other dimensions, the vector is in the subspace that you want. Is it clear?
Yes.
So a projection operator has to be idempotent, and so given any vector x.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, so if we could walk only one, shouldn't we extend it to n, p raised to n of operating
Okay,
on
that's
n?
a corollary.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so if p squared is equal to p, p cubed equal to p squared equal to p, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what I said. You can only kill once. Repeated killing doesn't mean anything. Okay.
Yes, sir, yes.
So given any vector x, we can, and a projection operator p, we can this thing break down x into two vectors y and z, such that p operating upon y is equal to y, and p operating upon z is equal to 0. So all I'm saying is that you give me a vector x and a projection operator p, I can write x as equal to y plus z. So I can decompose the vector into two vectors y and z, such that given p, such that py is equal to y and pz is equal to 0. Okay, how do you prove it? Proof is extremely simple. It is a trivial proof. So I can say that x is equal to p times x plus I minus p times x, right? Because, you know, I times x is equal to x, right?
Yes, sir.
So px and minus px will cancel. Okay, now I'll say that y is equal to px. Okay, and I minus p times x is equal to z. Okay, and how do I prove it? So take px and operate by p on x is equal to p squared x plus p minus p squared x, right? So if I say if px is equal to y, then p squared x is equal to py is equal to y. Okay, so that is the first condition that I have. So I get the first vector y. Is it clear? Because px is equal to y I define, then p squared x is nothing but p operating upon y, and that's equal to y because, you know, you have already projected x onto y. Okay, and similarly, since p equal to p squared, p minus p squared x is equal to null vector 0. Okay, so that I have two vectors y and z such that py is equal to y. Okay. And pz is equal to 0. So we have been able to decompose a given vector x and a given projection operator p such that one part of the x lies in the space which is given by say, for example, m parallel. So I have decomposed my space m into equal to m parallel plus m perpendicular, and what we find is that any vector in m parallel is perpendicular to any vector in m perpendicular. So you can see that, you know, the example that I gave you of the xyz vector in 3 dimensions being projected onto the xy plane, you see that any vector in xy plane is perpendicular to any vector only along the z direction. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so let me proceed.
Sir, can you explain once again M equals M parallel plus M perpendicular?
So any space can be divided into two subspaces, m parallel and m perpendicular. So any vector in m parallel is perpendicular to any vector in m perpendicular. Okay. The
And
example was
any
the
space can be divided like this.
Huh?
Any space can be divided like this.
Any vector, any space can be divided provided you are given a projection operator corresponding to that space.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, given a projection operator, it projects your vectors into two orthogonal spaces. One of them lies in the resulting vector lies in m parallel in one case, and any vector in m perpendicular is perpendicular to the vector in m parallel. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now let us go to what are called Euclidean spaces. So I have a Euclidean space En, which is an n-dimensional space. And it has a vector, any vector, it has, I can define any vector. Okay, so let me say, we can define any vector in En by an ordered n-tuple of complex numbers. So these are nothing but what you might call these complex numbers are nothing but the components of the vector. For example, I can say x is given by alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n. Alphas are complex, and I can define another vector y is equal to beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta n. And I define addition of two vectors x plus y as just addition of the corresponding components. Alpha 1 plus beta 1, alpha 2 plus beta 2, etc. etc. alpha n plus beta n. Okay, so that's how I define x plus y. And I can also define an inner product. Okay, x comma y. The inner product is nothing but alpha is a scalar, is given by alpha 1 star beta 1 plus alpha 2 star beta 2 plus alpha n star beta n. And what you find is x comma y is nothing but y comma x star. Okay, because what is y comma x? So this y comma x is nothing but beta 1 star alpha 1 plus beta 2 star alpha 2 plus etc. plus beta n star alpha n You take the complex conjugate of that. That will be beta 1 star star alpha 1 star plus beta 2 star star alpha 2 star plus etc. plus beta n star star alpha n star. That's equal to alpha 1 star beta 1 plus alpha 2 star beta 2 plus etc. plus alpha star beta n, because when you take a complex conjugate of a number twice, you get back the number. Okay, so that's how I define x comma y, the inner product. Now, given this, I can always define a basis vectors. Okay, in 3 dimensions, the basis vectors for I1, I2, I3, right, which can correspond to the directions x, y, z, for example. It need not necessarily be x, y, z. It can be any other orthogonal directions, which you may call x, y, z incidentally. So if you are given basis vectors, so these basis vectors are EI, and what this will have is 0, 0, etc. and 1, 0, 0, 0. This is in the space En. Okay, I have written script En, but it's the same as the other camp called En. Okay, so this is 1, 2, etc. Nth component plus 1. I mean, sorry, I minus 1, I plus 1, and the nth component. So that what I have is the following. It gives me the following vectors. E1 is equal to 1, 0, 0, 0. E2 is equal to 0, 1, 0, 0, etc., etc. And En is equal to 0, 0, 0 in the nth place. Okay, and what can you say about these vectors? Well, if you take a inner product or dot product of EI comma EJ, what do you get?
0.
What do you
0.
get? Huh?
0.
It's always 0.
Kronecker delta.
Yeah, it gives me delta Ij, which means delta Ij is equal to 0. I is not equal to j, equal to 1. I is equal to j. So I can define it this way, so that any vector that I take, for example, the vector x can be written as x1 e1 plus x2 e2 plus xn en. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, because if you sum the vectors, what you will get is nothing but sum of the components. So this is actually going to give me, you know, if you want to write it, it will give me x1 0 0 0 plus 0 x2 0 0 0 etc. plus 0 0 xn. So this is equal to this vector x1 x2 xn. Okay, so now I'm going to define operators in this space. Let T be an operator. What it does, it carries a vector in m-dimensional space, Em, that is an m-dimensional space, to a vector in n-dimensional space. So I have my Em here, I have another En here. So what it does is it maps some vector x here, it takes it into some vector y here. That is a general definition of an operator. An operator operating in a space takes a vector in that space to a definite space, which may or may not be the same space. Okay, it is not necessary that EM may or may not be equal to EM. EM may not be same as EM. Okay, for example, if I take a projection operator, it was taking a vector in a 3-dimensional space to a 2-dimensional space, right? Or it was taken to a smaller dimensional space. So if I was looking at a rotation in the 3-dimensional space, then it takes a vector in the 3-dimensional space and gives me another vector in the same 3-dimensional space. Okay, so EM can be EN, EM can be different from EN. Now, how do you find out what T is? Can T be defined uniquely given the basis vectors in EM, EN? Okay, so let me say that let the basis vectors in EM be E1, E2, etc., EM. Okay, and just so as not to confuse, we will say different symbol for the basis vectors in EN. F1, F2, etc., Fn. Okay, so there are n basis vectors in En and m basis vectors in Em. Okay, now what happens is that let us see when T operates on a basis vector Ei. Okay, so it gives me a vector Hi. Okay, Hi is in En, Ei is a basis vector in Em. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So I can write down Hi to be a linear combination of vectors in Em, which is to say Lj, tau, Ji, Fj. Okay, so what I have done is that, see, a basis vector need not go into another basis vector. Okay, a basis vector in Em can go into any vector in En. It need not go into a same basis vector. Okay, because I don't know what the operator T is. Okay, so I can define operator T such that Ei goes into some linear combination of Fj's and let the coefficients be tau Ji. Okay, now let me take a general vector X. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will take a general vector X in Em. Okay, and this is given by X is equal to sigma over I equal to let me call the symbol nu. Nu is equal to 0 to m. Okay, alpha nu E nu. Right? Because any vector in the space Em can be expressed in terms of the basis vectors E in EM. So I can say that X can be written as sigma over nu is equal to 0 to M alpha nu E nu. Is it okay?
Sir, we have considered the basis vectors as E1, E2, so it will be 1 to M.
Oh, 1 to M. You are right, not 0 to M. Okay, thanks. Okay, so this will also be J is equal to 1 to N. 1 to M, 1 to N, because the resultant is in the n dimensional space. Okay, so now let me see. If I operate by T on X, okay, what I'll get is it's a linear operator, because the entire discussion will be only on linear operators. So I can write it as T operating upon sigma over nu is equal to 1 to M alpha nu E nu, and this is equal to sigma over nu equal to 1 to M alpha nu T times E nu, right? And what does T times E nu give me?
H.
This we already know, because we know the what happens when we operate by T on basis vectors. So T times E nu will give me sum over J, okay, tau J nu, okay, and then I have F nu. J is equal to 1 to N. Right? So I can substitute for T times E nu in there. Okay, so I can put this here. So if I do this, what I'll get is the following. So I'll get what was the left hand side? T times X. So I get T times X is equal to sigma over nu equal to 1 to M, sigma over J is equal to 1 to N, okay, and I have alpha nu here, and I have on the right hand side J is equal to 1 to N, tau J nu F, or I can rearrange the summations sigma over J 1 to N, sigma over nu is equal to 1 to M, tau J nu alpha nu times F. Okay, if T of X is equal to Y, this is equal to the vector Y. Okay, and vector Y is nothing but sigma over I is equal to 1 to N. Okay, Yi Fi. Therefore, I get the following. We get Yi is equal to sigma over I J equal to 1 to M. Okay, tau Ij alpha J. Okay, be careful. I have switched the indices. The way I have switched the indices is the following. I have replaced U by J, and I have replaced J by I. Okay, so this one I have actually replaced slightly differently. Okay, so nu I replaced by J and J I replaced by I. So what I'm actually saying is that this I can write it as sigma over I is equal to 1 to N, sigma J is equal to 1 to M, tau Ij alpha J Fi. fj's. Yeah. Nu is replaced by. Sorry,
Then how did you get f of nu?
I made a mistake here. This should have been j. See, you see that.
F of yes. Okay, sir.
Okay. So I've again interchanged the indices. Okay. So I can write down y is equal to t times x. Okay. And where t is the matrix given by t is equal to tau 1 1, tau 1 2, etc. tau n, tau 2 1, tau 2 2, etc. tau 2 n m, then tau n 1, tau n 2, etc. tau n m. Okay, and what we have by this relationship that I have written down is y1, y2, etc. yn is equal to tau 1 1, tau 1 2, etc. tau 1 m, tau 2 1, tau 2 2, tau 2 m, and so on until tau n1 2, tau nm. This one is operating upon the vector which has got n components, which is x1, x2, etc. xm. Okay, so I have yi is given by, sorry, it's not here, it's the ith component, is given by the inner product of the ith row in the matrix tau and the vector x. So what I have actually done is I have taken, supposing I want to get y2, I take the second row, which has got m elements, tau to 1, tau to 2, etc., tau to m. I take the second row and form the inner product, which is this one. Okay, and usually whenever you are taking inner products, that's why I are defined as inner product as a product of a row vector with a column vector. In this, you remember one thing, that is when I'm taking the inner product here, I'm not taking, I must specify. So I'm saying inner product in quotes because you are not taking the complex conjugate of the row and then multiplying. Okay, without taking the complex conjugate, you are multiplying. That's the reason why I say that that is the inner product. So it's a product of matrices. Okay, so two matrices that I have. So I can write the product tau 1, tau, what is this thing? Supposing I want to get the second row, so I have tau 2 1, tau 2 2, tau 2 m, and I have x1, x2, xm. If I take this product, this will give me y2. Okay, so for the inner product, you have to take actually the complex conjugate on the left hand side But in matrix multiplication, you don't take any complex conjugate. You just take the product. Okay. So in this sense, inner product can be defined slightly differently. Okay, because you must say that take the complex conjugate and then multiply the two. Okay. Once I define the multiplication of the matrices, all these things will become clear. Any questions so far? Any questions? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Sir.
So I can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, how do you define sum of two matrices?
Some of the elements.
Yeah, but when can you define a sum?
When the number of rows and
Order
columns.
should be
Same
same.
order. Order is same.
In A and B must be the same. Sum of two matrices A and B is defined when their operators. Okay. In the same order between two spaces which are the same, which are same for A and B. Okay, so which means if I have a space EM and I have a space which goes into EN, if I have an operator, say A here, and I have another operator B here, okay, then an operator C or a matrix C such that C is equal to A plus B, which has the same effect as operating by A the first time, operating by B the second time on the same vector, and then adding them up, and I have Cij equal to Aij plus Bij. A and B must have same number of rows and same number of columns. So you cannot define this because they have to operate between the same two. They have to operate between the same two spaces. Okay. So
Okay.
all it says is the following. Yeah. What's it? So if A operating upon X will give me Y, and B operating upon X will give me Z, then A plus B operating upon X will give me I plus Z, okay, and therefore equal to C operating upon X, and therefore we have Cij equal to Aij plus Bij. Okay, then the rules for addition will follow. Any questions?
No, sir.
No? No questions? Okay, now let me go into define what is addition of a matrix, and you can also have what's called a null matrix. Okay, which is all elements 0. So this can also be some this thing a n by m matrix. Okay, so whenever you are dealing with matrices, the first index that you write down is always the row index. Okay, so please make sure so as not to get confused. A matrix Aij, the element Aij corresponds to in ith row and jth column. This is very important. Don't confuse it. You know, first index is row, second index is column, and that's always the convention. And almost universally in all the books, okay, in theory of matrices, you will always see the first index refers to the row, the second index refers to the column. Okay, so don't make a mistake. Now, let us see what happens to products of matrices. Okay, so to this, let us start with the spaces and operators. Let there be three spaces, EM, EP, EN. Okay, let operator A take a vector in EM to a vector in EP. So what I have is, I have an operator A, which takes me from this EM to a space which is EP. Okay, so now what is the form of the matrix? How many rows and how many columns will A have?
A rows and P columns.
How much?
Number of rows is M and
How many rows and how many columns?
sir, M rows and P columns.
Columns. Okay, we'll have M rows and P columns. So the row index always corresponds to the initial space and the column index corresponds to the dimension of the final space. Okay. So now I want to multiply this by an operator or matrix operator. So matrix operator B. Okay. Take the resultant of AX into a space En. Let me say this is here. Okay. So this is P. So what should be the form of the matrix P?
Cross N.
How many rows and how many columns can it have?
P rows and N columns.
P rows and how many columns?
In
P rows and?
N
Say
columns.
it again, I didn't hear. Correct. So matrix P should have P rows and columns. If it did not have P rows, then it will not be operating from the space which is EP, right? Because you have to, the vector has landed in the space EP and you want to operate on that particular vector. So any matrix or operator that operates on the vector in EP must have P rows, right? Otherwise you cannot operate on it. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So that is why the rule. So for the multiplication, the first rule is the following. A and B is defined only when the intermediate space is the same for both operators. Destination space for A and origin space for B. Otherwise, you cannot define it. Now, let us see how you can define the product and how can you find out the matrix elements of the product. Okay, so in order to do this, let us start with our definitions. Okay, let the basis vectors in EN be EM BI, comma EP BGI and EN FI. Okay, so this is the way we have always taken it. Okay, a vector in EM is X whose components are X1, Xn. Okay, where the components correspond to the projection of the vector X along the axis. Okay, for example, Xk is the projection of X on Ek. Okay, now let us see what happens. So now what I have is similarly I will now take the vector y, which is given by operate on X. Okay, so the components of y, which I can call yk, then given by sigma over I equal to 1 to what should be the how many components will y have? P components, right?
Yeah.
So I is equal to 1 to P. Okay, then I have A K I X I. Sorry, I made a mistake. Let me correct it. I have to look at the destination. I is equal to 1 to M. Okay, and K takes the values. K is equal to 1, 2, etc. Up P as Y is in the space EP. Right. So this was the definition of our this thing, the tau matrix. You remember the tau matrix, right? You have to sum over the columns. So here you see that you are summing over the columns J, okay, to get the component of the ith along the ith vector, basis vector. Okay, so you had yi is equal to sigma or j equal to 1 to m tau ij alpha j. What I have done is I have replaced I by k. Okay, and j I have retained as such, and alpha j has now become xj. Okay. Okay, any questions? Now I want to find out the vector z is given by b operating upon y. Okay, and the matrix elements of b are bij. Bik, bij. Okay, and what I can say is that Zj. Okay, let me, for the sake of ease, okay, let me call this. Okay, let it be stay. We will worry about the indices later on. Okay, what will be Zj equal to? Sigma over Bjk by k, k going from 1 to p, right? So you see this?
Yes, sir.
Is there any confusion? Because I have to sum over all the columns and yk. Okay, so when I do that, I can substitute for yk. Y of k from above. So that means this expression. Okay, if I do that, what I'll get for Zj is equal to sigma over k is equal to 1 to p, bjk it's too slow. Bjk, and then yk, if I substitute, so what I have for yk is aki xi, I equal to 1 to m. I is equal to 1 to m aki xi, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
what I can do is now, yeah. Yeah, any questions?
No, sir.
No? So if I did this, I can interchange the summations, right? So I can write it as sigma over I is equal to 1 to m, 1 to n. Just a minute. Yeah, sigma over I equal to 1 to m, sigma over k is equal to 1 to p, bjk aki times xi. Okay,
Yes, sir.
because my destination state was I started from m, so n, so it has to be okay. Yeah, and j runs from 1, 2, etc. to n. Okay. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
So now what I can write this one as Zj is equal to sigma over I equal to 1 to m. Okay. Say, let me say Cji xi, where Cj is equal to sigma over k, bkj ak, sorry, bjk ak. Okay. So we can define multiplication P is equal to BA, because I'm first operating by the vector A or by the operator A and then operating by the operator B. Okay. Then C of X, okay, is equal to BA X. And if I call C of X as equal to the vector Z, okay, then I can say the following: Z is equal to sigma over I equal to 1 to n. Okay, n is a destination space. I have Zi xi. One second. So you see that j goes from 1 to n. Similarly, here I have written slightly differently. So here I have ji I have got. So I going from 1 to n. I have interchanged j and I. And then we have zi is equal to sigma over j equal to 1 to this thing p. Okay, p I p. Sorry, I call it k, and then if I call it k, it will only go up to p. Okay, bik ak j k akj operating upon xj. This is, there's one more summation here. Too long. Somehow it's become very slow.
Sir, from j equal to jixi, how did
Once
that
again,
come?
let me complete it. Just a minute, let me complete it. So I have Cij is equal to sigma over k, dik kj is equal to 1. Yeah, what was your question?
So j is equal to jixi summation 1 to n. How did that come?
This one, because I have interchanged. You are talking about this expression, is it? Are you talking about this expression which I am looping here?
Sir, no, sir, in down, no, sir, not this one.
This is not the one you are looking at. Okay. So then which is the expression you are looking at?
Sir, z is equal to I to n zi xi.
Oh, okay. So sorry, it is not ZIXI. You are right. I made a mistake here. You should have written Zi equal to sigma over j to n BA I comma x. Okay. So that is the expression that I have written. Okay. You see the expression below. Okay. This expression Zi I have replaced BAij as sigma or k equal to 1 to p BIK AKJ. Okay. So this Cij is given by sigma or k equal to 1 to p BIK AKJ.
So
Is
that
it clear?
1 to n, how did that come? We got the expression in 1 to m.
No, no, no. What is the destination dimension of the destination space?
N.
N. So Z has components which are n, right? So right or wrong?
Yes, yes. Sir.
Let me write down here. Okay, so see y is equal to ax. Okay, z is equal to by. Okay, okay, and z y is in EP, x is in EM, and z is in EN. Okay, because I wrote down EM. EM going to P going to EM, right? So the intermediate vector is in the space EP. Intermediate vector is y. Y is in EP. Okay, and the final vector z is in EM. Okay, so that's the reason why Zi will have oh right. So Zi will have n components, and j is going from 1 to m here because I has got m components. You are right, I made a mistake. Okay, let me go over it again. Okay. So what I have is the following. I take the vector x, which is in EM, operate by A, it goes to EP. So which means y has m components, right? And, x has y has p components and x has m components. So the matrix A is actually p by m. And the vector z is in the space En, so it has n components, and y has got p components. So the matrix B must be an n by p matrix. Okay.
So P by
Let me just write it down here. The matrix A is taking you from M to P. So this is of the form P by M matrix. Okay, so it is taking from EM to EP. Okay, and matrix B is taking you from P dimensional space.
so it will P cross M or M cross P.
One second. See, it has to operate on the M dimensional space, isn't it? Okay, and any M dimensional space has M components, right?
So A should be M cross P or P.
It won't be M cross P, it will be P cross M. Because you have M components. okay, x1, x2, etc., xm, and you have to operate on that by these. So you must have, actually every row must have m columns. Okay, so you have m elements here, and this is going to land in the p dimensional space. So this will be p. Okay, so the destination space is the column index. Okay, and the origin space is the row index. Because you are operating upon the row index, vector in the row index, the number of columns you must have should be equal to the number of is the destination space. Okay, so we follow the structure. You know, it's, I don't know why you are getting confused so much. See, the vector in this space must have p components, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So if it should have p components, you must have p rows. And each row must have m columns because it has to multiply into a vector of m components. Is it clear?
Okay.
Because I have to take this and multiply into this. So I must have m elements here, which means I must have m columns. Okay. So that's why I have got this one. And the resultant will have p components. So for every row, you will have one component. Okay. And so similarly, b should be n by p, and that is why the multiplication comes that way. Let me show you what I had before. See, I was going from m dimension to n dimension, right? So the initial vector was an m dimensional vector. So it has to be an n by m matrix. Okay, because there are m components and you have to get n components from m components, which is possible when you multiply an m by n matrix by an n by 1 matrix. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't get confused. So, you know, always remember one thing, that the destination space will always be the number of rows, and the origin space will be the number of columns. Okay, so you can multiply them, and these are not vectors. I don't know why I'm writing. Okay, so now I have defined matrix multiplication. Of two matrices. A and B are defined, given by if number of columns in A is the same as number of rows in B, because the number of columns tells you what the destination space is, and number of rows tells you what the A comma B are. Number of columns tells you what the initial space is, and number of rows tells you what the destination space is. Okay, I can proceed further.
Sir,
I think
sir, the number of columns of A will be then m, and number of rows of B will be then n. So how they are same?
Correct. So I'm here, I'm defining BA because I'm operating by A first and then B.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. Because I'm first operating by A and then by B. That's the reason why I've got N cross P by P cross M. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll proceed now. Okay. So the next thing that I want to define is, what we mean by an adjoint of a matrix. What mean by adjoint operator we had defined, right? A
Yes, sir.
dagger is an adjoint of A if x comma a y is equal to A dagger x comma y. This is how we define the adjoint. Okay. So if I want to define the adjoint, well, let me see x comma y, x comma a y. So let us consider n by n matrices and n dimensional space. To calculate inner products, both the vectors must be in the same space. Otherwise, you cannot calculate the inner products. That's why the operator A has to land the vector y in the same space as x. Okay. So now, what is XAY? Am I right? So Z is equal to AY. So XAY is equal to X comma Z. Z is equal to AY, and this thing or ZI is equal to sigma or J AIJ XJ. Okay, for every I. And X comma Z is equal to sigma or I. Sigma or I. Okay, X star ZI. Okay. Sorry, no, there's no ZI star. I'm sorry. So what is this equal to? Sigma over I xi star aij yj sigma over j. Okay, so it's my ay. Any questions?
No, sir.
Now let me take the following. Let me take W is equal to A dagger X. Okay. So this will be given by sigma over Wi will be given by sigma over J A dagger Ij A dagger ijth element multiplied by xj. Okay, so that is A dagger X. Okay, now what I have is A dagger x comma y is equal to sigma over I, sigma over j, A dagger star xj star times yi. Am I right? Because I have to take the complex conjugate of the left hand side and then multiply every one of the components by yi. The complex conjugate of product of two numbers is individually the complex conjugates of the numbers. Any questions? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now these two should be equal. So by definition, an adjoint x comma ay is equal to A dagger x comma y or sigma over ij or sigma over I, sigma over j. Let me write it separately. So the left hand side, if I want to write, what is the left hand side equal to? Sigma over I, sigma over j, x is aij, yj. What is the right hand side equal to? Sigma over I, sigma over j. Okay. Xj star, A dagger ij star. Okay. Yi. Okay. Now you want the two to be equal. So if A dagger ij is equal to A j, sorry, if aij is equal to aj star, aj dagger, if aij is equal to aj star dagger, then think about it. Okay, so what I do is I take this one. Okay, I take this aij, okay, and I replace that by aj star. Okay, if I replace this by aj star, then what I get is this form. Okay, because then you know xj, aj, yi, ai will be there, so it will be then you will see that you will have the form, it will be this form will be valid. Okay, so let me see whether there's any simpler way of actually putting it. Okay, now let A dagger ij equal to Aji star. Okay, let me say that. Okay, the matrix element. Then A dagger ij star is equal to Aji. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then right hand side in this equation, the right hand side. Okay, so let me highlight it. And the highlighted part, what happens is that will be sigma over I, sigma over j. So I have this part, A dagger ij star. Okay, that will be replaced by Aji. Okay, so if you replace that by Aji, I have xj star Aji yi. Okay, and what is that equal to? So what is that equal to? When I replace that, I'll get the left hand side, right? I can it is I and j because both of them are running into this thing up to 1. So I can write it this way. Interchanging I and j. I can interchange the indices I and j, right? Because I is going from 1 to n, j is going from 1 to n. So you have n squared terms, and all the n squared terms are represented by either ij or ji. So I can replace the indices, interchange the indices I and j. And so this is equal to so is that A dagger x y is equal to CAY if the matrix element of A dagger ij is equal to Aji and then a complex conjugate. Any questions? Any questions at this point?
No, sir.
Hello, are you there or have you left?
No, sir.
Then when I ask a question, why don't you people answer? Is there any question?
No, sir.
So, because I've just shown you, it's very simple algebra. You have to do it with a cool head. Then you will see that the left and the right hand sides are the same. If you replace Aij by Aji star. Okay, so that's the reason why the Hermitian or the adjoint of an operator, the matrix elements of an adjoint matrix A or A dagger ij equal to Aji star. This is the definition of an adjoint. Okay, and Hermitian adjoints Hermitian which means that for Hermitian matrices, H dagger is equal to H. Or H ij star Hji. Okay. Actually, I used to write slightly differently. Okay, which means that the rows and the columns you interchange, and you take the complex conjugates of the elements, you get back the old matrix. Okay, that's what you mean by a self-adjoint matrix or a Hermitian matrix. Okay, so we will discuss what are called inverses of matrices and so forth in the next lecture. Okay, that will be on Monday.
For the last lecture and even this lecture, everything on operators, you did not suggest a book you are referring.
Oh, I said that it is Wilf. All this is in Wilf.
Okay, okay. Well,
Okay, please. Okay, so let me stop
okay,
here,
sir.
and we'll see you again on Monday. Okay. Okay, bye.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay.